Well, this is our last message ever on the issue of hope. No, that's not true. But it is the last in this series. We're going to finish it up this week. That's right. There's no more hope, no. And I kind of wanted to start by talking about a guy by the name of Chadwick Boseman. Anybody know who that is? I don't know if you've ever seen any of his movies, but he's an actor. He was the Black Panther in the Marvel universe. He also played Jackie Robinson in a movie and Thurgood Marshall in a movie and a few other movies. So he's an actor. He went to Howard University, so he's got kind of local ties. And I really didn't know much about him until he just passed away at the age of 43 from colon cancer. It's been everywhere. And it is interesting because he had been doing those movies and basically became a superstar while he was dealing with this and really didn't talk about it. He didn't think that was anybody needed to know about that, and he was making these movies while he was also going to chemotherapy and also going treatments, going through surgeries, going out and being in cancer wards and talking to kids and encouraging them and all those things while he was going through this. And something very interesting, there's another actor, Josh Gad. He's been in a few things, probably also you've never heard of, but he's another actor. And I thought what he posted was interesting because I think you get to see the heart of Chadwick Boseman and the hope that he had. And I never realized how much he would talk about his faith in Jesus Christ and how his faith in God gave him hope. And evidently Josh Gad had been going off about how it was raining in Los Angeles all the time lately and how with the quarantine and it was always gloomy and everything's terrible. If you know Josh Gad at all, you figure that's just the way he is, kind of a negative guy. But he's just kind of going on and on and on. And this is the last, in fact, text that Chadwick made to Josh Gad. And he said, "Inhale and exhale this moment and thank God for the unique beauties and wonders of this day. We should take advantage of every moment we can to enjoy the simplicity of God's creation, whether it be clear skies and sun or clouded over with gloom." In other words, there's what? Hope. Such a hopeful message. That was just part of it, but it was also hopeful. And you think about this man is also stage 4 colon cancer and knows his time is short, and still he's saying what? There's hope. In a gloomy day, in the middle of a quarantine with stage 4 colon cancer, let us inhale and exhale the unique beauty of God's creation. Let's cherish this moment and this day which the Lord has made. And let's revel in it and have hope in it. And that's something we need to do, isn't it? As we talked last week, that's one of our jobs, is to be able to tell people why we have hope. Of course, for us to do that, we first have to have what? Hope. A noticeable hope. A hope that no matter what's going on out there, we know God is in control. And when we have that kind of hope, just like we've been looking at Elijah and Elisha, Elijah with the power and Elisha with his faith, if we go out there with hope in the face of all that's going on, our hope is in God, and that shows in our life. People will ask us, so why so hopeful? And I find that interesting. A lot of the conversation you see online. In fact, Denzel Washington, also a professed Christian, always out there talking about that, paid for his college education to get him through. And what they're all talking about is that hope that he had in the face of everything going on in his life. He relished each day. So he showed hope, and now people are asking, well, what made him so special? What made him so different? Why? How was he able to do that? And he would say, if he were here, what? It's God. It's Jesus Christ and his faith. In fact, they had an interview with his roommate back at Howard University. That's all he said. That's all he ever talked about. And that's all we talked about together was our faith in Jesus Christ and how that was going to get us through all of these things in life. And if we have that kind of hope, can we make a difference in this world? They're going to have to notice it, and they're going to have to ask. And then if we're honest, we'll say, it's because of God. And we can show them Jesus Christ, right? That's what we need to do. But today we're going to look at, as we end this, not to get trapped in vain hope. When people come and ask us for the hope that's in us, we need to make sure we're not like this guy. The reality is, this guy here is Solomon. And Solomon was given tremendous wisdom to run his country, to rule his country, to rule the people. But unfortunately, even he got trapped in the things of the world and started putting his hope in the things and trappings of this world. And the entire book of Ecclesiastes is frankly a statement that don't do that. When you put your hope in things of this world, the things that are here and now, you don't have hope. So that's what we're going to look at tonight. We're going to look at this, as he calls himself, this preacher. We know it to be King Solomon. As he talks here, he's going to say, if you put your hope in things of this world, it is vanity, vanity, all is vanity, and there is no hope for your labors in this world. But if you put your hope in who? In Jesus Christ. If you put your hope in God, the one true God who's in control of all things, then do we have hope? So let's take a look at this example. Bad example, but he learned. So hopefully we can learn from him as well. Let's start with Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. And it starts rather negatively. This is what the preacher has found out. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? That's his conclusion. He looked at his life. He looked at what he was putting his trust in, what he was putting his hope in, and he said it's all what? Vanity. It's all worthless. It's all going to fall apart. It all does nothing. In fact, all of the labors that he had labored, all the things he was done was for naught. It wasn't going to change the world. It wasn't going to make a difference. It was worth nothing. His hope was in the wrong place. In fact, look what he says in verse 4. One generation passes away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abides forever. The sun also arises, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he rose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. In other words, life just goes on, right? Does it matter? As he looked at all the universe and looked at the world around him, could Solomon, in all of his works and all of his wisdom and all he did, can he change the fact that the sun rises and sets? Can he change the flow of the rivers? Can he change the way of the wind? Is he going to change time? Can he change? Who can, though? The creator of all those things. When you really look at it, you realize how small we are. You realize how much impact we can really have in the universe. You got to realize our hope cannot be in who? Us. That's the conclusion he came to. Verse 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. It just happens. And things that have happened. Things that are going to happen. Can we really impact things? Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new. It hath been already of old time which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after. That is a depressed man. Because what's the point? What's the point of a human life? What is the point of life? What is the point of labors? And the thing is, he's right. What is the point of what we do here on earth unless it has an eternal impact? Right? You may make somebody's day a little brighter, but when are they going to forget that? Tomorrow. Next week. Week after that. Big deal. But if we do things eternal, that have eternal impact, how long will those be felt? Forever. And that's the conclusion he's going to come to. In fact, he looked first at wisdom and knowledge, gaining earthly wisdom and knowledge. Isn't that a good pursuit? To know things, to know how things work, to know and gain knowledge of all things. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And it is a good thing, but is your hope in that? Is your hope that I will change the world by my knowledge and by my wisdom? My hope is that I can change the future by my knowledge and wisdom. My hope is that I can achieve and have success because of my knowledge and wisdom. What's the problem with every one of those statements? Who am I putting my trust really in? Myself. In fact, look what it says in verse 12. I, the preacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem. So let's get that fact straight. He's king. Now, I don't know if we really appreciate the power of a king anymore in the United States, because it's been a long time since we've had one. How powerful is a king? Totally. Totally. If the king says, kill that person, what happens to that person? He dies. It's just the way. That's power, isn't it? Isn't that influence? And he's basically saying, I was king. I am king. I have all earthly power, and I wanted to get all earthly knowledge. Verse 13, I gave my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under this heaven. This sore travail hath God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith. It is something we should do. It's wisdom we should find and knowledge, but should we put our hope in it? Should we be putting our faith in man's wisdom? Should we be putting our faith in man's knowledge and understanding? That's not where our faith should be. That's not where our hope should be, should it? Because who's the only one that knows everything? So did you put your hope in them or the ones that just have a glimpse? And he says, I gave all my effort to that. Verse 14, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. All it is vexation of spirit. Because frankly, the more you know and the more you understand, the more you realize you don't know and don't what? Understand. Now, is it good to gain knowledge? Is it good to gain what? Yes, but is that your hope? Is that what you're hoping to save you? Is that what you're hoping to make an influence? That's the question, isn't it? Verse 16, I commune with my own heart. See a problem there? I decided, I came to this conclusion. I commune with mine own heart, saying, Lo, I am come to great estate. I have gotten more wisdom than all they have been before me in Jerusalem. Yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I gave my heart to know wisdom, to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also in the end is what? Just vexation of spirit. What does it do for your soul? Like it says, if you were to gain the whole world and lose your soul, what good is it? If you gained all earthly knowledge and wisdom but lost your soul, what good is it? If you put your hope in all that earthly wisdom and knowledge and did not put your trust in God, what good is it? Because will they let you down? So don't do that. All it is vexation of your spirit. Because your spirit knows that you need to put your trust in who? In God. And put your hope in who? In God, right? So don't do that. Verse 18, for in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increases knowledge increases sorrow. That doesn't sound like much hope there, does it? But what if we increase in the wisdom of God? What if we increase in the knowledge of God? What does that do to our spirit? That gives it hope, doesn't it? There's hope in the knowledge of God. That's what Proverbs tells us, right? There's hope and peace and knowledge of God. The knowledge of God is the beginning of righteousness. It's the beginning of wisdom, right? And that's what we need to do. Don't put it in your hope in earthly wisdom and knowledge. Well, what's the opposite of bearing down and gaining knowledge and understanding? Well, let's just party then, right? Let's forget. Let's turn off our brains. all right? And let's just have fun, right? Yeah, let's just do that. Chapter 2, verse 1. I said in mine heart, again, communing with his own heart, deciding in his own heart, this is what I want to do. Go to now. I will prove thee with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure. And behold, this also is vanity. Put your hope in pleasure. Put your hope in mirth and frivolity. Just to turn off your brain and just do whatever pleases you, whatever pleasure you may have. You could even have like 1,000 wives. Because that makes sense, right? What happens there, though? Still, it is vexation of spirit, isn't it? It doesn't accomplish anything. In fact, you give your life to partying. How long will that last? About as long as it takes to get to the hangover, right? And then what is accomplished by that? Putting your hope in just ignoring your problems. Putting your hope in just washing your problems away. Putting your hope in just having fun. Eventually, like the prodigal son, what happens? You got to face the facts. Reality always comes back around, doesn't it? Verse 2. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of mirth, what does it? What does it accomplish? Now, is it okay to have some fun? Okay, to joke around a little bit? Yes. But if that's your hope, that's your identity, that's all you want, that's all your desire is more pleasure, 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 will it let you down? I sought in mine heart to give myself unto wine, yet acquainting mine heart with wisdom, and to lay hold on folly till I might see what was that good for the sons of men which they should do under the heaven all the days of their life. And basically he came up with a big zilch. That's not the way to go, right? There's no hope in those things. What about great works, though? I mean, if you do great works, if you truly make a difference, right? If I build great buildings, or I build great things, or I institute great institutions, right? Then I can make a difference. Then I will be known. Then forever, right? Then I will have power, and then I will have hope, right? Well, he tried that too. Let's try that. Verse 4. Chapter 2, verse 4. I made me great works. I builded me houses. I planted me vineyards. I made me gardens and orchards and planted trees in them of all kinds of fruits. I made me pools of water to water therewith the wood that bringeth forth trees. I got me servants and maidens and had servants born in my house. Also I had great possessions of great and small cattle above all that were in Jerusalem before me. He had everything. People would bring boatloads of treasure to him for his wisdom. They would bring just treasures to him in tribute to him. He brought many taxes and tribute from the people. He was so wealthy. It's always amazing to me that it took him 7 years to build the temple, the house of God. Anybody know how long it took to build his house? One of his houses. It took 14 years. Did he have a lot? In fact, he goes on to say, verse 9, so I was great and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me, right? I could still judge, and I could do that gift from God. Verse 10, and whatsoever mine eyes desired, I kept not from them. I withheld not my heart from any joy, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. That sounds good, doesn't it? I got everything, had everything, and everything, but what was it? At the end of the day, by the way, everybody knows where his house is now, right? Where his temple is now? Where his city is now? Where all those pools are now? Where all those woods are? They're gone. Maybe some archaeologists can find some stone sections at some point, but no, they're not there anymore, are they? Verse 11, then I looked on all the works that my hands had wrought, and all the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. Is that where we should put our hope? Our ability to do great things? Move great peoples? No. How about fame? power, influence, right? I would put my hope in that, right? Because fame is never fleeting. And power is never taken away, right? He's a king, though, right? Obviously, that would work. Let's go to verse 12. And I turned myself to behold wisdom and madness and folly, for what can the man do that cometh after the king? Even that which hath been already done. Hey, I was the king, right? I can do what I want. I had power. Did he have fame? Yeah, worldwide, man. Everybody knew who this guy was. Did he have power? Absolute power in Israel, right? Verse 13, then I saw that wisdom excelleth folly as far as light excelleth darkness. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walketh in darkness. And I myself perceived also that one event happeneth to them all. Yes, wisdom is greater. Yes, power is greater. Yes, fame and influence are greater. But at the end of the day, what happens to both those influential and those influenced? They all disappear. They all die. Right? And then what happens? Verse 15. Then said I in my heart, as it happeneth to the fool, so it happeneth even to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart that this also is vanity. Right? So we put our hope in our power, our influence, our fame. No, it's fleeting, isn't it? And at the end of the day, who's going to have to stand before Jesus Christ? The great and the small, it says, right? Doesn't matter. He doesn't care about what you did here or who you were. Right? That's why only things that are eternal last. Only things that are eternal really feed the spirit, right? The rest is vexation spirit and not true hope. What about family? Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 6. Big family, right? Long life. We can put our hope in those, right? You always trust in family. Got a lot of kids that will take care of you when you're older, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 3. If a man beget 100 children, I don't know why he'd want to, but you have to remember this is a guy who has 1,000 wives, so maybe that doesn't seem like a lot. If a man beget 100 children and live many years, so that the days of his years be many, and his soul be not filled with good, and also that he have no burial, I say that an untimely birth is better than he. Better that he never even lived. For he cometh in with vanity and departs in darkness, and his name shall be covered with darkness. Moreover, he hath not seen the sun, nor know anything. This hath more rest than the other. Yea, though he live 1,000 years twice told, yet hath he seen no good. Do not all go to one place? Again, all of this can be summed up in if you have the whole world and lose your soul, what good is it? Right? If your hope is in anything else, it's vanity. If your hope is anything else, it will fail. But if your hope is in God, if your hope is in the things eternal, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you have no earthly wisdom or knowledge. It doesn't matter if you have no mirth and frivolity in your life. It doesn't matter if you've done no great works, no fame, no power, no influence, no family, and no long life. It's still, if you know God, and if you have hope in Him, then you have true hope. Isn't that nice? That's all he's saying. Throughout this entire book, that's all he's saying. And this is a guy who had it all, so he should know, shouldn't he? It's easy for me to say this because I don't have a lot of this. So I can sit there and say, well, I'm just as good as they are. But no, this is a guy who had it all. This guy's experienced it all. And realize it is all vanity and vexation of spirit because it's not real. It's not eternal. In fact, what's the reality he came to? Ecclesiastes 2. Let's go back to chapter 2 again. 2, verse 22. Ecclesiastes 2:22. For what hath man of all his labor, and of the vexation of his heart, wherein he hath labored under the sun. For all his days are sorrows, and his travail, grief, yea, his heart taketh not rest in the night. This is also vanity. There's nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw, that this was from the hand of God. For who can eat, or who else can hasten hereunto more than I? His bottom line is what? The reality is you can put your faith and hope in all of these kinds of things, but they're not going to get you anywhere. But if you simply eat and drink and enjoy the good of God in his labors in you, then what have you got? You got everything. You got everything you need. For who can eat, or who else can hasten hereunto more than I? He's reminding them, hey, what about you? I'm the king, remember? I can do it all by my power, by my labor, but I'm telling you that's vanity. But if you do it by God's labor, by his hand, trusting in him and having your hope in him and his work in your life, then what have you got? You've got everything you need. Right? Otherwise, you might as well say, let's eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. Right? He goes on to say it later. All right. So where is our true hope? It's not in all of these things that the world will say and try to sell you. True hope is in God. In fact, let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Should be right around there. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, starting in verse 12. Chapter 3, verse 12. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God does it, and that man should fear before him. So he came to the conclusion, even though he's king, who's really in control? God's in control. And we should take nothing away from his labors in our life, and certainly add nothing to it. Right? He's got a plan for you. He's got work for you to do. And is it good for us to work? Is it good for us to labor? Is it good to us to have some mirth? Is it good for us to have wisdom and knowledge? And is it good for us even to have influence in this world? But only if it's for who? God, in accordance with his will, and then we have hope. Right? Because it will play out. In fact, look at verse 15. That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requireth that which is past. In other words, what influence do we really have anyways? Everything is past, is already past. And everything coming up, who is already determined? So we can stand up and say, I will put hope in me. I will make a difference. I will change the course of human history. No, you're not. I will influence. I will use this. I will use this. I will stand up by knowledge and wisdom and understanding. I will change everything. I have hope in me and my ability. What does God say? Yeah, right. Man plans and God laughs. You ever heard that? Ever heard that phrase? Man plans, God laughs. That's basically what he's saying here. He has ordered everything. He knows everything to come. So best thing for us to do is what? Put our hope in God's plan. Put our hope in his labors. Put our hope in his ways, right? Because it'll win. It's what's going to happen. Verse 16. And moreover I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. And judgment is coming, isn't it? And what of these earthly things will get us out of the judgment? You're going to stand before God and say, but I had 1,000 children. I hope not. But I did great works. But I was so smart and so educated and so wise in the ways of the world. But I had a really good time. I didn't have time for those eternal things. I was too busy having a good time and just living in the pleasure, enjoying all of your blessings, right? What's God going to say? I never knew you. Right? Judgment's coming. Who is our hope? Jesus Christ is our hope, isn't he? He's our only hope. God plans the future. God judges the future. And only those who put their hope in God will stand, right? In fact, what is the conclusion of the entire book? Chapter 12, verse 13. Many of you know this verse. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. This is what wise Solomon learned from his frivolity, from his vexation of spirit, from his grief, from his vanity, and all the terrible things he did. This is what he learned. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. This is where our hope is, right? Our hope is in fearing God, giving reverence and obedience, and yes, true fear helps of him, recognizing who he is and who we are, right? Giving the proper respect unto God. Fear God, and then do what? Keep his commandments. Follow his plan. Follow his will, right? His will is good, acceptable, and perfect, right? So give sacrifice unto him, and that is things that will last forever. Therein is our hope. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. And frankly, if it's for the world, it ain't going to stand. But if it's for God, it'll last eternity, won't it? And that's where our hope is. Our hope is in him and his way. In fact, one more place tonight, Psalm 78. Psalm 78, starting in verse 1. Written by Asaph, not Solomon, or David for that matter. Psalm 78, verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. Who do you think is speaking here? This is God. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children. He's basically saying the word of God, right? The law. He's saying, listen to me, folks. This law, this word of the Lord has been given to us, hasn't it? Where can we find that now, by the way? In his word, right? It's been given to us. Commandments have been written down for what purpose? Verse 7. That they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. In other words, what? To have hope, fear God and keep his commandments. Remember them. Remember his ways. Remember his commandments. Remember his works. Remember his law, right? Remember those things. Every generation needs to do that because in them we have hope, right? Because frankly, if you're Solomon, did he know the law? Oh yeah. Did his daddy and his mommy teach him the law? Oh yeah. But what happened to him? He clearly forgot. Is it easy to forget and start putting our hope in other things? Absolutely, because that world keeps coming at us, doesn't it? The world just keeps coming saying, this is your hope, this is your hope, this is your hope. If you want to have hope, follow this person. If you want to have hope, buy this thing. If you want to have hope, get this thing, right? But if it's of the world, yeah, right, exactly. If you want to have hope, no. Who is our hope in? And that's not going to change. Shouldn't change, should it? Fear God and keep His commandments. Know His law. Know His commandments. Know His works. And put your hope in Him. Because He's got it all planned out, doesn't He? He's got it all in control. And the things that are eternal are the things that will feed our spirit and give us hope and peace. Not like the things of this world. Okay? Any questions or thoughts? Yeah, He's the Creator. So, like I said, we can't change much. If you ever think we can change much, just go down and try to stop a hurricane. Stop an earthquake. Stop the rain from coming. Stop the sun from shining. Try to just stop people from doing dumb stuff. I mean, we have so little control. Why would we put our hope in ourselves and our labors and our mind and our ideas and our things and earthly things? Put your hope in Him and the things of God, right? Each and every day. Let's pray.